Just because you're living abroad doesn't mean you shouldn't care what's happening in the US anymore. I'm one of these people who believe that no matter where you are in the world, it's your responsibility to keep up to date with what's happening in your country or countries of nationality and vote. I'll be walking you through the process step by step to fill out an absentee ballot request. At the end, I'll also quickly go over the process for an emergency write-in ballot to make sure you're still able to vote if you've got less than 30 days before Election Day. Throughout the video, I'll put links on the screen and also include them in the description below. Hi, welcome back to Peregrine. In this video, I'll be walking you through the process to sign up for mail-in voting for US elections while living abroad. Fun fact about me, I've only ever voted for national elections while living abroad. When I became old enough to vote for French elections, I was living in the US, and right after getting my US citizenship, when I first voted for US elections, I was living in Finland. So it's definitely possible. I know there's a lot of misinformation and confusion out there right now about whether mail-in voting is still going to be allowed, even whether the election is still happening in November. But for now, that's still happening, so I'm here to help you out with that. And if you're wondering if it's even worth it to get involved, well, while you're living abroad, US policies still affect what you're able to do, where you're able to go, what you have to do with taxes. And also, the US is a huge actor in global politics, so you definitely want to make sure you're involved in that. So this is a site that I use and what I recommend. It's travel.state.gov. So as you can see from the different menus and the messages at the top, it's everything related to travel to and from the US. So the banner at the top, you see, of course, things about travel in the times of COVID, the more permanent menus about passports, visas, and so on. But here we're straight in the section related to absentee voting, so we don't need to dig around the different menus to find what we need. And as you can see, there are different fold-out menus for really anything, like even figuring out, are you eligible to vote, especially remotely, or voting at all for US elections? What about your taxes? How are they related? Emergency write-in ballot if you've got less than 30 days before the elections. But right now we'll go straight to registration/absentee ballot request. There's a little bit of information just so you know, so you make sure that you know what you're doing or what you're looking into, and then you can click right here to go straight to the Federal Voting Assistance Program website. And you of course want to say go to this external site, and you land here. Okay, so here we are now on the Federal Voting Assistance Program website. As it's announced right here on the homepage, this is for anyone who's in the military or an overseas citizen who is able to vote for US elections wherever they are. You can see the number of days left until the next general election, which is super useful if you're not sure or you don't know how much time you have left. And you'll actually see two options, and they're quite similar. Either you click here to request your ballot now, or you would click here to select your state. Basically, the only difference between these two is that if you select your state, you get to go skip a few steps because you've already selected in which state you last lived in the US. And if you click on request your ballot now, you'll just have to select your state at some point along the steps. So I just went down here to select your state, and because the last place I lived was New York, I'll go ahead and select that now. So now we land here. As you can see, there's on the left just at first a reminder about what makes you even eligible to vote, what kind of person you need to be. So US citizen, at least 18, absent from voting residence, that means that you're not currently living in the US. In a state where you're a resident, you have to be abroad, whether you're military or a private person. So I just quickly wanted to show and mention here that when I filled out my ballot application a few months ago, I had the option here as well to go straight to a tool that was associated with my state. So I don't see that now as I'm recording, but I think it's still worth mentioning because you might see that when you're filling this out. And if you do, don't worry, all the options are just different ways to submit the same information. So any choice is fine. So the first step is to sign up, register for an absentee ballot, and the second step, of course, is to fill it out and send it in. For some states, you might be able to send it in electronically. For others, I think only mail-in is allowed, so you need to make sure that you know what's possible for you. All right, so as you can see here, you have the options to register and request your absentee ballot with a federal postcard application. You fill out your information, you review it to make sure it's correct, you print it out, you sign it, and then you send it by mail. Or in some cases, you're able to send also online, and then that's how you're able to register for your ballot. You have just some information about the Privacy Act statement, and then you click accept. So now we get to this page about jurisdiction. So I selected before that I lived in the state of New York. Now I have to select the specific jurisdiction that I belong to. So I happen to live in New York City, in Manhattan. So I'll select NY Manhattan. And then next. And then what kind of person am I? So in my case, I am a US citizen living outside the country, and my intent to return is uncertain. So let's say that you are on a specific contract for 6 months and you will definitely, or at least it's planned that you will go back to the US after that period is up, then you want to say you're someone who's intending to return. You have never lived in the US, that can happen if your parents are American citizens and so are you, but you're actually born and lived abroad your whole life. So then you want to click next. So now you need to fill out your personal information, so everything from your name to your number, your email, and make sure that you fill out your current contact information, not where you last were in the US. Just how can you be reached now? And then this is very important, of course, to be identified is your social security number or your driver's license and political party that you associate with. Then you can click next. So now you get to this page where you have to enter not where you live now, but where you last resided in the US. And this is really important because the last place where you lived determines where your vote counts now. So if you're like me, you may have a bit of a hard time remembering all of your past addresses, especially if it's been a few years since you've left a certain place. But a tip that I use is that I go to my Amazon account. So I don't use Amazon so much anymore for various reasons, but it's still a really good resource for me to see a list of all the past addresses I've used to have orders delivered. So I can go on there and see exactly what my address has been. If you maybe don't use that service, or if you've erased your addresses over time, you can go to your emails. Maybe you have had some other website send you a confirmation of delivery with your address listed, or maybe you've sent your friend your email so they could mail you a postcard from a trip. Either way, try to find a record of your address somewhere to make sure you don't make any mistakes. Because if the address that you type in here doesn't match exactly your last place of residence in the US, it's possible that your ballot application will not go through. So make sure you know what you're doing on here. Then you get to the next page where you need to list your current mailing address to make sure they're able to send you your actual ballot. Next, you need to choose which method you want to receive the ballot, whether it's email / online, mail, or fax. Email online is of course nice if you're worried about the shipping times or your letter getting lost in the mail somehow. But of course, it's also possible to ask for mail or fax if that's more comfortable for you. Then you also need to enter your contact information as well. So next you have additional information. First, you want to select the elections for which you want to receive a ballot. It could be all elections, all federal elections, or any upcoming election for which you're eligible. And below you have a little area to add any comments if needed that could help you to receive your ballot or anything to kind of accompany or give some context to your application. Personally, I left it blank, but it could be that there's something that you need to add. Alright, next you get to the review stage. You just want to make sure that all the information you entered is correct. After reviewing your information, you can submit and the site will generate your ballot request as a PDF. Okay, so don't feel too disoriented here. This is a new site, new page, but don't worry, it will look about the same regardless of which site you fill out. The reason why this looks different is because I first filled out my ballot request a while back, and of course I couldn't fill it out again to film this video, but thankfully I had some footage from that time. So once you have filled out the full application and confirmed that everything is correct, you will get a page that looks similar to this, where you will have the form ready to download, and the form is your actual ballot request. So you will need to print it, sign it, and send it by mail to the address specified on the document. And the address will of course be different based on your jurisdiction for voting. So I did want to give you a glimpse at what the PDF will look like of your actual ballot. So as you see, you'll find just some instructions, some reminder of what this is, and then the ballot will appear all filled out with your personal information. So you can just print it, sign it, and send it through. So even though we're more than 30 days out from the election, I've already received an email notifying me that my online ballot is ready. So I'll be posting about that on Instagram if you want to see more. Alright, so now let's quickly talk about what to do if you've got less than 30 days before election day, but you still haven't received your absentee ballot. And that would be either because you've sent in your absentee ballot request, but they haven't sent your ballot yet, or maybe you haven't even sent your request yet. So what you want to do is start on the same page, but go down to using an emergency write-in ballot. And just a reminder here as well that if you have any questions, you should also contact the voting assistance officer at the nearest US embassy or consulate so that they can answer your specific questions. But here we have a link to go straight to the emergency write-in ballot. Alright, then you get to this page where you have two links. So let's look at the second link first. So this is for your federal write-in absentee ballot. So this is what you fill out in case of emergency. So there are two important things I want to mention first. The first one is that if you do not receive your absentee ballot in enough time to meet your state's deadlines, but you've actually already sent in the request, you should use this as a backup. But if in the meantime you do receive your state's ballot later, you should still send it in also. And at that point, your election office will only count one of them. Something else you want to watch out for is that some states require you to send in an absentee ballot request, even if you're sending in the emergency write-in ballot as well, and these are those states. And if you do need to send an absentee ballot request, let's go back to the previous page. That's your first link right here. And you get this PDF where you can fill out your personal information. But let's get back to the emergency write-in. So again, some instructions, some reminders about how things work. And then again, you have to fill in your personal information, quite straightforward. And then you get to the actual ballot. And this is where you need to fill out the name of the candidates that you'd like to vote for. And just reassurance that this is an official ballot, this is private. Some instructions about how to seal the envelope, how to fold the papers as well, how to mail it in properly. And that's it.
Alright, thanks for watching this video. Again, if you didn't register in time to vote in the primaries, it's okay. There's still a little bit of time left for the general elections. And if you're watching this less than 30 days before election day, you should look into getting an emergency ballot so you're still able to vote. Let me know in the comments below how this went for you. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. And of course, please like this video and subscribe with notifications to hear more from me. Thanks for stopping by. See you next time.